right, very good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are doing amazing. It's Tuesday, the 5th of August, and where we're going to get into our market snapshot and see what the market does have in store for us today. As well, I hope you guys had a beautiful weekend. I hope you guys had an amazing one, and I hope you guys had a good Monday as well. And I hope you're ready for the week ahead. So we're going to kick off with first looking at our trading current calendar. So I'm gonna just give a second or two for some more guys to join up. Then we can kick off with what the market has inside for us. In the meantime, I would like to remind you guys that this is not trading advice. It's not financial advice. This is for educational purposes, and feel free to use this to improve on your trading as well as to make informed decisions on your trading activities during the day. On top of that, we do have a variety of free workshops, physical in Uganda and Tanzania at our academy, in Uganda at Rumi Building, 7th floor, and in Tanzania at FNB House in Dar es Salaam as well. So feel free to enroll for those. The links are always in the description for any of the classes you're interested in. We do have Zoom classes at the beginner class at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. and we do have the 11 a.m. Zoom advanced class as well. So besides that, I think we can go into what the market has offered us today. First and foremost, as usual, we want to start and look at our forex calendar. It's very, very important to always have an insight into what may cause volatility during the course of every given trading day. So, but as far as today is concerned, I think the only thing we have in focus is definitely going to be the ISM services PMI. Now, for those of you that may not know, the ISM services PMI just gauges how much people that give out services spend when they're trying to give out. How would I say, for example, let's say like transport is a service, right? You're looking at costs that people offer transport services incur before they give the service to the public. So all those costs are put and gauged into what they call the PMIs. The PMIs. So there we have the ISM services PMI only in the services sectors. That will be at about at 5 p.m. East African time. So you may want to watch out for the volatility that may come in at around that time. On the other hand, the services PMI also helps us to gauge or have a fair insight on what inflation might look like in the long run, because basically you're seeing the cost of production of a service in a given nation, and that tends to be very, very crucial when it comes to the service being given out eventually as well. So on the other hand, one news event that we might want to be watching out for will definitely be there's this that I read earlier in the morning, and I think that this is something you may want to look at for guys that trade indices, or stock indices, especially the Euro stocks, and says European stocks extend gains for a second consecutive session on Tuesday, with both the stocks 50 and stocks 600 rising above 0.4%. Investors continue to shift their focus toward corporate earnings while closely monitoring global trade developments. Meanwhile, market participants have been increasingly pricing in potential interest rate cuts by the Fed on the corporate front. BP share rose 1.1% after the oil major reported better than expected second quarter profits. Diageo surged 6% after reaffirming its full year guidance, while DHL jumped 5% following a solid increase in earnings. So this one of the major indexes you can trade coming out of the European zone. Right now, why the focus would be in the euro is because this week, along this week, we do have pound news, I think, but will still affect the euro as well. We have Bank of England monetary policy reports. Once what their rate cuts will look like. We did see that Jerome Powell failed to cut rates as Trump desires last week, but you also do know that a few weeks or a couple of days back, Trump did sign a deal with the European nations. So that's why one of the focuses we want to look at going forward, especially into this month, is going to be the euro stocks, because there's going to be some kind of opportunities that the market will tend to be offering within that. So I want to watch that as well. So besides that, there won't be any other major market reports coming out. Even in the earnings reports today, we only have AMD that will be coming out, and these are also kind of like chip makers. So we know that this will be a bit crucial, but it's the only one going to be coming in. So you might want to watch people that watch that trade US tech, Nasdaq, or the S&P as well. You might want to watch this. going later on into the day as far as that's concerned. So besides that, I think I am going to jump onto the charts and then we shall look at more of the technical bit of it and see where we can be able to scoop up some opportunities or what areas we could be watching to try and navigate some multiple opportunities within the day. So let me just share my chart in a minute. All right, so now onto the technical bit of it. So as usual, I like to start with the index and usually the US dollar index because this drives most of the pairs. Very many times we tend to trade the US dollar pairs. So I'm starting from my daily time frame today. And as we can see the daily time frame, we did have this big bullish move that was highly sponsored by Trump's trade deals, from the Japan trade deal to the European trade deal. We did see the dollar make an amazing recovery. Then on Friday last week, we had this drop on that crazy figure that came out from the non-farm payrolls. That was really, really, really crazy. We saw Trump fire the head of labor statistics in the US. He claimed the figures he was given were wrong because that 73K looked so bad for him. So now, as we can see, that price gave us a breakout and it's trying to start forming some kind of bullish trend, right? And we all know that this bullish trend should be sponsored probably by trade deals. Though unfortunately, we did see Trump also come in to give in some more tariffs, right? But now I think the dollar is going to give us a recovery because the trade deals, especially the European trade deal, tends to carry more weight than the tariffs he put in. There are a few major economies that are going to be affected by the tariffs he has put in, but not until we see that decision is going to make in terms of the China trade deal and possibly what Canada will have to say. Though Canada was tariffed as well, he increased the reciprocal tariffs on Canada as well. So we can be able to say that this bearish move was just a reaction or market anticipation because this same day here, if those that remember, 2 hours earlier, Trump did announce a wave of reciprocal tariffs on over 10 countries. So already the sentiment was bearish. Then the figure came out bearish, just sponsoring this bearish move on the dollar. But now that the markets have assessed the impact of the tariffs, yes, it's not going to be so positive, but it's not as aggressive as expected. We may tend to see gold try to give us some kind of recoveries through this week or some kind of correction move to try and recover back that bullish move as we wait for some more trade deals. Because remember, some countries were given until 8th, so 3 days to go before gold gives us a definite, the dollar gives us a definite direction while it's pricing in those tariff reports. We still have until 8th. So coming on to lower time frames, what we want to look at in anticipation. So you can see that price got to this breakout area or that support level there and began forming some kind of rallying market or some kind of range, right? So now if we have this kind of range at this particular zone, we want to see where the opportunities can be. Now, one of the beautiful things we have right now is that we have a supply zone up this side. Usually it can be a target for price to come and pick liquidity, even if I want to be bullish in long term, but I want to see what happens when 8th comes into play. Who brings in a deal, gets more tariffs. For now, what I would be looking at, this 1 hour time frame, would be intermediate highs. And these are the two intermediate highs that you want price to break above and probably give you a retracement where you can be able to take some buying opportunities. So I would like to see a good candlestick closure above either of these highs, then a good retracement into a demand level that can possibly push price to try and fill up this imbalance or continue that bullish move that we saw coming sponsored by the trade deals that Trump did sign about a week or two earlier on. Yeah, so this is what I'll be looking at on the dollar index. Though for now, we are seeing that price is still kind of in a ranging market. So you could start to had some kind of pennant here that price has broken above. So it had a nice support level. And then it has broken above that side. But then I would like this to be topped up by a good break and candlestick closure above either this high or the other high. In case there's some kind of aggression that comes with a momentum, then you can see it close above and then give us a nice retracement to try and fill up this our imbalance as we are seeing here on the dollar index. So on top of that, the other thing I like looking at after seeing the perspective on the dollar index, we would like to see this coming. Okay, I'm not seeing that tool I wanted to use. So I'd like to see a good break to that area as well before price does anything else. Below that, probably you can see our price coming down to the extreme levels, just in case the tariff situation tends to worsen. we shall look at the bottom areas here. So I'm having some kind of head and shoulder pattern here. At some point now I like to call that a QM level that I can later on be able to refine to the 1 hour. In case price happens to break below these lows or below the support level, then I'll be looking to push probably this to a good demand level. When I look at the bottom, I have a good demand level right about this level here. I have a good demand right about that. This is a demand level that I would like to watch out for. It's just slightly above my head and shoulder pattern, which is also quite okay. Remember, this would be an area of interest. I'll probably want to look at confirmations, presumably on the probably like the 15 or the 5-minute time frame. That will work perfectly fine. But then here we can see a breakout and a push slightly lower towards this area, just in case price happens to break below this. So we're going to be watching what transpires through the days as time goes on, and especially in the ISM services. PMI, if it comes out very negative, we can see this try to drop towards these demand levels lower. If it comes out positive, I'll be looking for that break and close above one of these highs, then a slight retracement, then probably push that price further to the upside. So it's the outlook I'll be looking at when it comes to the US dollar index. Now remember, the US dollar index, we tend to use it just to have a clear picture. It goes to our dollar related pairs, our currency pairs to be particular. Some people want to do this with gold. I'll keep telling you guys that is not sustainable. You don't want to try to correlate the dollar index together with gold every single time. It's going to be very, very hectic for you. The markets will show you, they will discipline you. So anyway, now coming down now to the first dollar pair I want to look at, it's definitely going to be Euro USD. And as we can see on Euro USD, it was just emulating the opposite of what the DXY was doing, right? The DXY gave us that a kind of recovery to the upside. That means that Euro USD will give us a turn of events to the downside because they are inversely correlated. But you can see a similarity in structures. We did have this momentum breakout from here. Very nice, good breakout to the downside, leaving us this whole area of interest. Then we had this retracement still onto this resistance level. It was support, now turned resistance. So price came back into it, and now price is trying to drop out of that area. So having marked that area, I'm going to go down to the 1 hour time frame. So usually when you look at these and you're looking at targets, I can take the whole of this as what they call sell side liquidity. For the guys that do trade that, then I'm going to have a possible target below here, area that I think that's going to be like a drawn liquidity or a magnet for price to come towards. So below here, I have a demand level that I would like to see as my possible target. But this is a bigger picture because this is a long-term time frame. This is a daily time frame. So you can expect that in a longer run. But coming to use the lower time frames, try and see if it can push us towards that objective. I'm going to look at my 1 hour time frame as usual. Coming from the daily, I tend to drop down to my 1 hour time frame. Now looking at what we have here, we have this low over here. It's pretty much more clearer compared to what we are seeing on the DXY, but you can see the short-term bias I'm having on both sides is the same. So what I'll be looking at this point would be a shift or a break to the downside, slight retracement to a supply level, then a push to the downside. That would be something beautiful to watch. Push below this area, good nice candlestick closure, then a retracement to probably a supply level. If this is still unavailable by then, well and good, then you can possibly look to push price lower, just support the bias we're having on the DXY as well. So just in case this happens, well and good. Just so alternatively, in case prices to go to the upside, let's assume that in case the ISM services PMI doesn't go to the right side, we can have some kind of trend line around this zone, as you can see this. So it has 3 touches, which makes it a valid trend line. We definitely want to see a break above this area as well, close above this high, break above the trend line, a nice retracement to a demand level, then a push to the upside. That's alternatively in case price picks momentum to the opposite direction. But besides that, we are also going to align with the general bias, which is to this side. And that's what we really want to watch out for when it comes onto the Euro USD. So you realize that we're trying to correlate the two pairs. So what I'm going to do, based on the US dollar index analysis, I've seen what the Euro USD has to offer. Now I'm going to look at JP USD, and I'll look at the one that has the most clear structure. It's something you want to do just to have some kind of bigger confluence. So usually for guys that want to directly correlate Euro USD and GBP USD, I don't advise you only do that if you're very good with what they call a smart money divergence. Because a smart money divergence will basically help you into correlating two similar currency pairs that are directly proportion, is it? Yeah, directly correlated, not proportional. Directly correlated. That's where smart money, the smart money divergence comes into play. So the smart money divergence, it's a bit tricky, so I won't explain much into it. But here, what do is something similar to what we are seeing on both other pairs is we do have that breakout to the downside, which is quite okay. The difference is that in the other pairs, they have already turned bearish, right? And this pair particularly hasn't yet turned bearish. It has given us a retracement, hasn't gotten to this area, but has already turned bearish. Now, what tends to happen is that while this one is pushing to the upside, the other pairs will tend to follow. They have already turned. This one, Euro USD, you can see it's already giving you bearish signs. But in most cases, to wait for this area here to now come into a valid area of interest. Let's say, for example, this was the supply level. If we refine it, we'll find the supply level around here. So they'll wait for this pair to come into the supply level. Now you may find that Euro USD is going to consolidate within this area until GBP USD gets to this area. Then they'll form a smart money divergence and possibly go to the same direction. So what happens? So you find that for today, the GBP USD is lagging behind the Euro USD. So the smart money divergence, that's one of the ways you can. It's not the actual whole idea of the smart money divergence, but then that's kind of the concept that leads towards it, right? So with this, we still expect some push to the upside. If I don't see a push into that zone, I'm going to have to wait on Euro on this only until it breaks this and retests. Other than that, I'll know that this pair here is not yet ready to be sold, or it may not be the best to be sold. So what you're going to do, you're going to now change back to Euro USD because it has a much more clearer structure. You see it's selling, and the other side GBP USD is buying as well. So that's some part of like the differences that can happen once in a while, or there are breaks in correlation. But there's always a way you can navigate them, and one of them is a smart money, a divergence strategy. So we have seen Euro USD and GBP USD. The outlooks are a bit similar, just that GBP USD looks like it's lagging behind Euro USD. All right, so let's move on to our GPJPY and see what opportunities it has to offer for us. So looking at GPJPY, now with this note, when it's selling to the downside, that means the Japanese yen is gaining some kind of strength. Sorry. So looking at the structure that we have right now on GPJPY, we're going to start. GPJPY has been bullish for quite a long time, and we have been looking at this all through our market snapshots for quite some time and how some opportunities have been forming up within this. But then you're going to start ever since the announcement of the Japanese trade deal, we started seeing some kind of reaction. There just wasn't enough momentum or liquidity, you could say, in the market, but we did see it starting to give us some bearish signs, meaning strength in the Japanese yen after the US trade deal that they did have. So this correction, we saw NFP came, and because it didn't really favor the pair or didn't favor the Japanese yen, it was able to push to this upside. But then this was a short-lived move. The market later on, NFP came and switched directions all the way to the downside. And what it leaves us with here is a supply level. So usually market will tend to want to reprice back into the supply level. Market will tend to want to reprice into the supply level before it continues its push to the downside. And you're going to realize that's the same thing that all the other pairs have been trying to. They try to reprice after an impulsive move. Remember, the market moves in those phases as impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse correction. So here, price gave us an impulse to the downside, trying to give us a correction that's trying to gather up some momentum or some more reasons for the Japanese yen to actually become strong. In this particular case, when you're trading GPJPY, so it's something you might want to look at and watch through the week. So looking at the current price action, we said today's candlestick has aggressively turned bullish, but it's not closed. It hasn't engulfed yet either. So at what point on lower time frames will I want to look for buying opportunities in case I have to consider them? So when I look at my most recent areas, I did have a supply level prices currently in, but by the looks of things, the momentum here is so high, so price sometimes would not tend to respect the supply level to go for the extreme supply levels when this occurs. So coming onto this area, I can have this as my supply level. that I'll be waiting for price to come to. Now in that area, I'll either look for selling confirmations, or if I don't see any, I can hope that price is going to break above that area and probably retest before it actually embarks on its actual move that it has been planning all the way. So in the meantime, for the guys on YouTube, feel free to drop your questions in the comment section, and we see how best we can get them answered as far as they're forex related or trading related and learning related when it comes to the markets. So this outlook would be looking at on GPJPY, or the Good British Pound, and the US dollar, and that's right, the Good British Pound and Japanese yen. All right, so now let's move on to the USD/JPY, or the US dollar and Japanese yen. So this is a bit of analysis from last week. We saw price come reject this resistance, buy from us at demand level, then break above and retest this level here to some extent before it eventually pushed to the downside. And as you can see, it pushed down into a kind of like a demand level that was refined, and refined that to a 30-minute time frame as well. So let's just look at this from this perspective as well. So coming in to look at this on a daily time frame, this USD/JPY, we saw a similar pattern to what our GPJPY had done. Now, what you're going to notice here is that price has a break to the upside from this side, and then a break to the downside right from here. So when you look at this bearish candle, it has a nice valid supply level. It's a nice valid supply level, and we can anticipate that price is going to try to push towards this area. So I want to look for those opportunities that may arise in case price decides to push towards that demand level. What conditions should be met? So in this case scenario, I think the first condition probably has been met. We are going to have this high, then you have a candlestick closure above that high. That means we have a demand level that led to the breakout, and this is a demand level that led to that particular breakout. So it's going to be our area of interest. Once those candlesticks, that's the one that's moving right now, tends to close nicely above that area, then looking for some sell opportunities or some sell scalps, we're definitely going to look at this area here. It's kind of like a high probability pattern, and you may want to look at it as well to get you some selling opportunities. So usually what price will do with such zones, when it's in between zones like that and it has a destination, it could do something like this. So that's a possibility that price may definitely take up as well before it continues pushing to the upside. On the other hand, it can actually just break out of this level here and then see this whole free range covered as well. So you may want to watch out for that as well. A breakout, a retest, and a price pushes all the way towards the area or the supply level we have right above there. So this as far as USD/JPY is concerned. So one more thing I would like to remind you guys to watch out for is the latest episode of the Bullish Banter podcast. It aired last week, I think on Thursday or Friday, and we get to WCK, or the Wheelchair King, and he gives us the navigations. Personally, he's one of the guys I saw when I was getting into the markets, and he inspired me a lot because I saw somebody on a wheelchair motivated about trading. So I reached out to him, and he has a lot of knowledge to share with you guys, a lot of insights and a lot of things to talk about discipline. So you don't want to miss out on that episode. If you haven't watched it, kindly go watch it out. On top of that, like, share, comment the Bullish Banter podcasts, and we keep rolling. So let's go to another pair and look at how the markets may be faring. So I would like to, before I go to the indices, let's look at I think 2 more pairs. Let's look a bit at gold. I usually like ending with gold sometimes. Let's have it now. All right, so now coming onto the daily time frame with gold. As we all know, gold gave us that bullish switch to the upside. Now, this was very tricky for guys in most cases. I don't know why or how or why this was the case, but you need to understand that I was speaking about tariffs earlier that day there, because we do have a TikTok live every Friday at 3 p.m. where I was hosting and I talked a bit about what the fundamentals would look like. But the thing about this trade was that the markets were now pricing in tariffs. As I mentioned earlier today, that Trump had already announced tariffs on over a dozen countries. So by the time we went to NFP, the major investors actually already pricing in the sentiment at the moment, and it was entirely a tariff based. It was based on the tariffs he had just put in. It just happened to appear that the figures also came out negative, and that's why we saw a very, very big pump to the upside. So right now, price did give us this breakout. So this becomes what I tend to call an area of liquidity. This being the area of liquidity, that means eventually you may hope that price is going to come back into this area and try to respect it. That's basically the idea of a breakout, because prices formed a high, just come and form a low, right? Or a higher low, in case that was the case for an uptrend. But then the fact that price will have to come back here doesn't mean price is going to just come back immediately or not. There are certain things you may want to see on lower time frames. So in case price is to retrace, we may want it to take out this is the highest point price formed, and this is a demand level responsible for that, this level here. So you don't see a good nice candlestick closure below this area. Well enough, we have two lows close to each other. So when I have two lows close to each other, I always want price to break out of both the lows, break out of this one and the second low, then come back into a supply level responsible for that push to the downside. That's only in case if price is to retrace. Now, it's not a must for price to definitely retrace at that point. Alternatively, price can just start pushing continuously from this demand level. So you can also mark these demand levels. Why I would want to break below two demand levels, because both these demand levels are fresh, or they are unmitigated or untapped, which means they are both areas where you can look to buy. Remember, these are areas of interest. You don't need to take a trade just because price came into a demand level. You need to at least wait for price to give you a confirmation. This is a 1 hour time frame. It's very, very easy to go down to a 5-minute time frame and look for a confirmation. That shouldn't be so hard. That's as easy as it sounds. You just look for a good confirmation type and criteria. Then you can always drop down on a lower time frame. I drop like extra, skip a time frame or two. Then you come up with that nice trading confirmation. This can be personal, this can be copied from someone else. But the fact that price already in this demand level, that means there's a possibility of price actually just deciding to buy from this level. So I want to come and confirm that shift if there was a shift that occurred around these areas here. So if you realize carefully, price did not shift above here. We have no candlestick closure above these highs. All price did was give us a sweep above the highs, then reverse to the downside. So it's going to force me to look to the downside and see that within this particular area of liquidity, do I have any demand level that is unmitigated? So this is my demand level that's unmitigated. So I can easily see price push down into this demand level before it tries to consider any bullish moves. So that's an area I would really want to watch out for, and for price to come and give me some kind of bullish anticipation when it gets to it. So this is my whole perspective on gold right now. I don't want to be so bullish on gold, but as I told you earlier, a break below the second low, then a retest will mean price is going all the way into the area of liquidity we have, or the previous week's breakout area. These breakout areas here, this is the area particularly we're talking about. So that's something I would really want to watch out for when it comes to gold as well, because you can see that price is trying to really push to the next area of liquidity. Though if the dollar keeps getting stronger, we shall see it reverse to the downside. This bullish move on gold is entirely because of tariffs and then the negative figures that came out. For those of you that want to learn how to trade with tariffs, I'm going to give you a simple perspective. Go and look at the tariffs that Trump put out on April 2nd, or the first wave of reciprocal tariffs that he named Liberation Day tariffs. Then look at how the market reacted starting on 5th when it was priced in. You can always be able to look for the headlines that were there on those specific days, what moved the market on those specific days, but that's one of the ways you can learn these things very, very easily. You just keep tracking back, watching, see what happened that day there, see how the markets reacted, what was Wall Street saying, what was the Fed saying, what governors on the Fed say about those particular incidents or scenarios. So on the other hand, let's now dive a bit to our, I think let's go to indices now. Oh, we have to do Bitcoin first. Let's do BTC USD and see what the market has for us. So now this was our outlook from last week. And as I told you, you need to keep a neutral bias, right, when it comes to the market. So our whole direction last week was bearish, and as you can see, price came close below this wedge, retested into it and pushed to the downside. And currently it is hovering around a support level. I call these minor support levels. It's hovering around this minor support level. Just had a touch onto it, and then price is trying to push to the upside. Now, as I told you that these two levels are my most desirable levels where I would want to take my best positions from. So for now, I'm going to basically be waiting for price either to come into those zones or to give me a clean break above all this noise here, because this is all buy side liquidity. You want to see a very good break above those areas before you consider taking a particular trade on BTC USD. That should be very, very crucial and at your fingertips as well. So this is the outlook we're having on BTC. It's not going to change very much. What we had last week in terms of the drop played out. So in case this is a daily time frame, by the way. So in case you were to use it on a lower time frame, that's right. In case you're using a lower time frame, let me just get the wage. We see where the breakout occurs from. So this on a lower time frame, you can see we had a nice breakout from this zone here. So we can zoom it in. So you can zoom. Then now price came to the extreme at supply levels above this side. Of course, even these ones kept getting respected, but the liquidity wasn't enough. So the liquidity wasn't enough. That's why it's very important to know where the structure is and how the structure plays out. So here you can see the price came and tried to respect that, but it didn't have quite enough liquidity. So what the price do? It came above to the QM level. It came above to the QM level and then now used it to push price all the way to the downside to tap onto this other area we have down here. Now that should be very keen on how the market tends to play around these areas of interest. You can only do that by having a confirmation pattern. That should be way much more easier and sustainable as well. So now moving into indices or indexes. I don't know which one the right word is, but indices, indexes, I hope it all works out. So moving on to these indices, we're going to look at US Tech or UT roll on our side. So we're going to start from a daily time frame as well. As we all know that it has been playing around new highs for quite some time. We had this kind of correction move above this side. Then now we have a sudden change in direction. And what does price leave us with? Definitely a supply level. So this is our supply level. And we really want price to get into it, into these smaller demand levels. We have to look for the best possible demand level. So I like starting with the extreme, because in case price gets abnormal volatility, it will always push towards this extreme, a supply level. The other supply level I would want to mark out from this area would be this. Price ain't quite good into it as well. Then now, in terms of the bullish move on this pair, we have demand levels. Someone go to the 4 hour and look at what's happening here. When I come to the 4 hour, I can see you have a candlestick break and closure above this area. Then we can see this nice retracement coming into those lower time frames. So here is the high, the low that created the highest point on this particular area. This is the highest point of the chart, or of the things formed on the chart. So what you want to see is price leave this formation here, the bullish candle here, and then now push to the downside. In that case, if price does that, you're able to have an area of interest. Probably try and back your sales, because one try and see if we can get this UT roll somewhere in a favorable area. The areas where we're going to be watching, for price to push back towards, right? So want to see price either close below this area or just push and break above, try and create new all-time highs, because this is a major or the higher time frame area of interest or the target we want to eventually reach to. So going on to our 5. In order for us to look for buying opportunities, we would want to see price give us a nice candlestick closure above this high. Then you can anticipate a retracement to a demand level and a push all the way to the upside. That's another thing you'd want to probably want to pay attention to as well. So that's as far as UT100 or US Tech is concerned. Now we're talking that 100 top tech companies in the US, because many of them are solution based. And today, being a day of ISM services PMI, a lot of these technologies actually are service based software and things like that. So sometimes this may try to cause some volatility in NASDAQ. So going into the one NYSE, you may want to be careful with that. So it's something I'd want to watch out for. as far as US tech is concerned. In order for us to look for some buying opportunities, we want to look for them just only if price closes above this area. We can target this supply level here, because we can target the supply level instead. Price breaks above, retraces, pushes to this supply level, and probably either gives you a confirmation for a sell or continues the bullish move all the way to the upside. So now let's look at one more currency pair, and that's GPNZD, and try to assess and see where the opportunities in this particular pair may definitely tend to lie. So coming on to GPUSD, the price action is kind of clustered. So let's just focus on the most recent price action. So as we can see, that price was coming to the downside, generally in a downtrend, but then from somewhere here we have current move of a correction, right? And you have only one bearish candle in between all these correction moves. So the first thing you want to look for is going to be the highs. So we have this high, and then we have a slight breakout down here. Then we have what will look like an inside formation in case price happens to close above that high. This will be an inside formation just in case price closes above this high. So looking at the current price action, price is very, very bullish. So I'm going to borrow from the 4-hour time frame and see what areas we could possibly either re-enter in or look to intercept from. So what areas can we watch out from this? Let's see. We do have this supply level, but as you can see, price has come with very high momentum. Usually when there's too high momentum in the market, price is going to violate most of the areas. Yeah, so the momentum is so high, you can get a confirmation on this. So we have our last area above there. And if the momentum is going to give us a trend, then we are going to focus more on looking for areas to support that bias, generally just support that bias. So we have been having this 4-hour demand level. So don't see retracement to this area as well for price to give us some buying opportunities. On the other hand, above here, what targets could we have? We do have this area here with a QM level above that. And we do have what we would call a breaker block, right? I don't know if people are familiar with breaker blocks, but this would have been something like a breaker block. So that means we're looking for price to push towards these two areas. These are draws on liquidity or our price magnets. The current one price has high momentum. So either look for price for a confirmation within it, or in most cases, it will just violate those areas when price comes with very, very high momentum as well. So we're going to be watching those. Now coming to lower time frames, look at some intraday areas where we can be able to just watch in the meantime, see if they can support our general perspective. So we can see that our price already formed a demand level here, mitigated it with this demand level. And we still have this same area right on the 4-hour. Still my area I would prefer to watch out for as well. This area I'd want to watch out for. Besides that, I'm going to look at the range that I have between where price currently is and the next target I have. So this range is about 48 pips. So it's not a range I like engaging in, because I'll find like if I'm going to get a market confirmation or a trade opportunity within those 30 pips, you're probably going to have about 20 pips to maximize or not look for trades within. If the range is 50 pips, just count 50% of the 50 pips. That's the range. That's the amount of pips you want to target within that range, in case you take a trade that aligns with that area. So looking at this price moving the upside, I'll still maintain my same demand level right below here. I'm still going to maintain this demand level for when price comes back to it. Then when price comes to this breaker block, I can maybe look for some sell reactions entirely based on a confirmation at the end of the day. That's something I'm going to be watching out for. NZDJPY, we can see that price did give us a breakout at this point. And after a breakout, price gives you a retracement, right? So expect a retracement into these areas here. And based on what I'm seeing, I have an area that I'm going to mark out on a 30-minute time, it's a 4-hour time frame. So in a 30-minute time frame, I'm going to watch an area like this supply level here. And because I'm trying to play with a trend, this trend is bearish, so I don't want to go against a trend. So what I would want to see would be price take out these highs, buy into this area, then give me sell continuations as well, just in case price starts selling before it achieves those objectives there. I do have this baseline, a trend line, so I'd want to see probably a break below it, a retest plus a supply level, then a push to the downside. But my main perspective on this would be to see a take out of these highs, then push into the supply level, then I'll probably look for a confirmation within that area there to push the markets lower to those areas. So in the meantime, in case you have any questions, feel free to drop them up in the comment section so that I can get one or two of them answered before we wait and watch what the market is most likely going to have in store for us during this price action. So we are saying Euro USD has given us this push lower. We want to really see it give us a close below this area and then probably give us the nice retracement before we can continue. So guys, in case you have any questions, let me know. In the meantime, I would like to remind you guys that we do offer free educational content from physical workshops in Uganda and Tanzania, Rumi Building for Uganda, FNB House for Tanzania. We do have online sessions, Zoom sessions, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Thursday. We also have the 11 a.m. class or the advanced class, 11 a.m. every single morning. In the meantime, there's a lot of content on this same YouTube channel. Go to the playlist section, you'll find a beginner content, you'll find intermediate content and advanced concept content as well that you can be able to use to improve on your trading activities as well. So on top of that, I would like to just remind you guys that every single Friday at 3 p.m. I do host a TikTok live. So feel free to come through if you have some questions, some queries. I'll be sharing a few tips here and there. We shall be doing a market assessment, and usually I base that market assessment based on what I've shared here on Tuesday. We go back on a Friday and go through it and see how the opportunities played out, what we saw, and how it would have played out, and what next week we'll be offering as well before the week actually even starts. So yeah, so apparently what's favorite pair to trade in today's conditions. In today's conditions, I'm going to focus just the way I align the pairs you're seeing today. These are the pairs I'm focusing on. So Euro USD and GBP USD, I'm going to focus more on trading Euro USD because CGP USD, it's trying to give us sell opportunities before reaching the area of interest. So I'll have Euro USD. As far as these market conditions are concerned, I'm going to want to look at GPJPY because I'm seeing it has a clean range going into these levels here. Then I'm going to also put in GBP NZD as well because it's going to be offering us some good volatility, especially because tomorrow we have a statement from the Bank of England as well, so the pound will highly be anticipated. So Euro USD, of course, gold is a constant for me. Euro USD, gold, GBP NZD, these are the pairs I'm going to be watching out for today, as well as GBJPY. But those three, the first three are very, very okay in that how much do I need in my account to trade? Futures. So futures usually you need probably I think like we have them on, I think we have cash and roll, but it's based on what pairs you're going to trade, the minis or the actual future, because we have the ES minis and we have the ES as well. So usually they count them I think like 50 I think it's usually like $50 per handle as well. That's for Nasdaq because I've tried the Nasdaq features on our platform, but I'm comfortable more with CFDs. But you need about $5,000 minimally. A safe one, even 1,000 you can, but then to limit the pairs you're going to trade on FX space as well. But we have the cash pairs, especially with the indices. Still explain the effect on NFP and tariffs. So the effect that was there particularly was because of course the figures were low. Market sentiment was just bearish because of the tariffs. Remember the tariffs came in 2 hours before NFP on Friday. The tariffs came in 2 hours earlier. So the market or the investors were trading based on the tariffs. Now, people, if you don't know about tariffs are actually very, very important because they are going to determine how companies are going to be conducting business over the next period of time. Not just companies, also the nations. It's why we find that the effect from tariffs either lasts longer or it has a higher impact than NFP. So that was the impact we had on the dollar. The tariffs are not good for the dollar. Whenever Trump puts tariffs on a nation, people will take their money out of the dollar and put in a safe haven, which is gold. We saw this happening after the April 2nd tariffs. It took about 3 days, and from April 5th, we had 3,000 pips on gold in only 4 days. So that's how the tariffs affect the dollar. Right now, they're not good for the dollar in simple terms, but right now the market's assessing that how heavy the tariffs are and what nations are directly affected. In case the assessment generally or general perspective is that the tariffs are not so aggressive as the first ones. then they will most definitely continue buying the dollar afresh. They'll take back their money from gold and back into the dollar. But for now, there's uncertainty, so we are going to focus more on looking for those gold buys as we wait for 8th August to see the final say on tariffs. So that's for the Sean Erickson. Tariffs affect the dollar negatively because investors will not want to put money in that. How can I, or okay, let me see. I think one more question or two more questions. Just get them up here. What's the TikTok account? FX Pesa on TikTok. So FX Pesa still does not change. Uh, this one, zero TikTok account FX Pesa 3 p.m. Every Friday we shall have a live as well. And then how can I create an account? Check in the description. There will be a link for you to create an account. There's a link, I believe, for your demo account and your live account as well. So just check in the description. The TikTok account as well is in the description. All the social media platforms are in the description, as well as the links for creating accounts. All right. So I believe that's it for today. I'd like to remind you guys to don't forget to use risk management. Don't forget to be very critical. Watch what news is on your calendar every single morning. Know when to be in the market, when not to be in the market, and possibly you can be able to save $1 that day by not trading at the wrong times, by managing your risks comfortably. Other than that, I would like to wish you guys a blessed day and a peaceful day as well, and a blessed week as well. So until next time, we shall meet.